Geoffroy's senior speech. I'm very pleased to welcome Sam's parents, Jennifer and Robert Geoffroy, as well as her volleyball coaches, Hannah Shook and Hannah Rogers. Two of Sam's middle school teachers are joining us from across the teardrop, Mr. Chip Kirksey and Mrs. Teresa Jones. Please let's give them a warm welcome. It's hard to believe this day has finally come. Sam, you arrived at prep in 8th grade, an eager, energetic, and curious middle schooler. Your desire to know the why behind everything and to understand how things work motivated you to stay involved and invested in a wide variety of clubs and activities, from joining the HEC in 9th grade to serving as its president in 12th, cheering your heart out in the student section, keeping track of meetings and events for the NHS, providing co-leadership in the Global Perspective Club, and always ready to rumble on the volleyball court. In your spare time, you serve on the executive committee of the Youth Board of Augusta, and you somehow have jobs at Oxygen Fitness, dog sitting, the Augusta National. You hang out with your friends, and to relax, you bake and rock climb with your sister. Oh, and you love to travel. I've had the privilege of teaching Sam, and am very familiar with her character and her demeanor. She is serious and goofy. She can lock in and focus, or be so locked out she is loudly asking, "What page?" She adds value to any class or group through her desire to collaborate. She is no fainting violet. She invests herself 100% in every single endeavor. She is not without fears or concerns, but she is wise with her companions and mentors, and she seeks support to help her reach her goals. Now, if you know Sam, you know she loves music. Sam really loves movie music, which generated an unusual interest in movie scores. She went down the rabbit hole, researching music and movies, and devised quite a nice overview for our entertainment. So today's presentation is an opportunity to sit back and listen. Please have your ears ready for Sam Geoffroy's senior speech.
I would like to thank Senator Crawford for that wonderful introduction and for being the best advisor for the past 3 years. I would also like to thank my family and friends for being here. Who the hell wants to hear actors talk? Harry Warner famously said before movies started to be produced with sound. He was one of the founders of the Warner Brothers, an entertainment company producing content for television and film for the last 101 years. Back in 1927, movies had no sound. This technology was unimaginable at the time, but as y'all know, there is now sound in movies. It is actually one of the leading factors on why movies are so entertaining. They keep the viewers engaged, engrossed, and glued to the screen. Sounds manipulate you without you even knowing it. You are immersed into an entirely different world. You can sit in one place for 2 or more hours and not notice the passing of time. Sound has a psychological effect on the human brain, but 100 years ago, Warner could not even comprehend the science behind this effect. The first films had no sound. It took about 40 years for movies to incorporate sound. From about 1890 to 1929 is known as the silent era. Silent film started during this time frame to focus on the images displayed. Silent film technology progressed from a glass disc to a shellac compound. The very first movies were shown on a device called the zoopraxiscope, invented in 1879 by Edward Muybridge. This was the first idea of a moving picture. This showed more complex movements from multiple photographs put onto a rotating glass disc, which were then projected through this device. People were so engrossed by these moving pictures, the technology didn't just stop there. Thomas Edison discovered Muybridge's zoopraxiscope in 1888 and immediately wanted to combine it with his phonogram, which added sound to the pictures. Only one person was able to view the images at a time. It was the first time sound was synchronized with moving pictures. Edison improved this technology with the kinetoscope in 1894. Again, only one person was able to view the spinning photos at a time, but they could see longer strips of film. The kinetoscope incorporated the phonogram to coordinate with the movements. Around the same time, the Lumiere cinematograph was created in 1896 by the Lumiere brothers. This was a camera, projector, and film printer all in one. The device nearly tripled the viewing time from 20 seconds to 50 seconds. However, you could only watch the film in a dark room. These were typically found at fairgrounds or music halls, places where people were already seeking entertainment. The film would show local activities, foreign lands, and short comedies. These were the first examples of movies that were not so silent during the silent era. Instead of the cinematograph using the phonograph, it was typically accompanied by live lectures or live music that was played on the pianos. After this not-so-silent era, there was the Golden Age. The change in periods happened because of the Vitaphone. This device was traditionally used by the Warner Brothers and was made by the Bell Telephone Company and Western Electric. The Vitaphone was able to produce movies like The Jazz Singer and The Lights of New York. It also helped create the short animation of Steamboat Willie. Steamboat Willie was Disney's first film that had synchronized sound. Synchronized sound means there was sound attached to the disc of the movie and not being played by a live artist. Even though sound in movies were developing, the Vitaphone was not a perfect machine, and still there were parts of movies that were absolutely silent. The Golden Age started to kick up once these machines became more reliable. Watching movies had become a quick way of entertainment, and as movies grew, cinemas grew. The movies soon became a place where people would visit twice a week for easy entertainment. Technology developed during this time, and because of these developments, movies became more intriguing. The specific technology that helped with this evolution was synchronizing sound with the movies. The music-to-movie synchronization was a difficult process that took years to develop. It became known as Mickey Mousing. Not surprising, the producers of Disney were the originators of this technology. An example of this might be when your favorite character falls down the stairs and there's a decrescendo, or when Steamboat Willie is whistling. It's a way to intensify what is happening in the scene and may even add unintentional humor. Mickey Mousing began in the 1930s, but as movies developed, there was less need for producers to add these sounds in the background. The movie industry had to move out of this era to keep up with the technological changes happening within their competition. Now, what was their competition? TVs. TVs were then becoming easily accessible. You could come home after a long day at work and sit in front of the TV for entertainment. Movie theater companies saw this drop in demand and changed how they operated. First came the surround sound system in the theaters, and then the curved screen. Technical engineers made these developments so you could feel as if you're actually in the movie. Enhancing the process was important to keep up with the competition. Today, movie theaters are more developed than ever. I mean, you could be hit by the wind of a tornado and Glenn Powell's beautiful face at the same time. Now, there is sound everywhere in a theater, from the walls, behind your screen, to underneath your seat. All of these changes exist because people are always looking for ways to be entertained. One of the biggest ways people stay engrossed is that sound-to-image connection. You connect specific music to specific movies. If you look up at the screen, you can see movies that have some of the most iconic soundtracks of all time. If you're like me, you can look at these posters and have an automatic song associated with them. From Star Wars, to Indiana Jones, to Jurassic Park. These movies had songs created for them to enhance the overall experience. In Star Wars: A New Hope, John Williams wrote the soundtrack with the London Symphony Orchestra. The song, simply called Main Title, opened the Star Wars saga. It has endured as one of the most iconic soundtracks of this franchise. As y'all walked in here, you heard the Interstellar main theme playing. Composer Hans Zimmer wrote the Interstellar soundtrack. His ethereal notes entrance you and bring you into this future world. You feel as if you just traveled through space for 80 years. As you can see, music can help underscore a storyline and possibly influence memory. Composers like Williams and Zimmer make music that sticks in your brain. Whenever you hear those familiar notes, you think of that movie. Maybe you think about watching it for the first time or how you felt afterwards. These songs affect your consciousness and reinforce the narrative. A movie soundtrack is also considered to be unspoken dialogue. Sounds help you comprehend what is going on. They intensify scenes without overbearing the actors and the plot. I'm now going to show you all a clip from the movie Jaws. The first clip is going to have no sound, and the second clip will include the soundtrack. As y'all can see, this scene is much different without the sound. If you have never seen this movie before, there's a man-eating great white shark in a beach town, and this is the first scene where the shark attacks. In the absolute silence, you wonder what is actually happening. Is she just flailing in the water and can't swim? But with sound, you immediately recognize she is getting attacked. The intense notes played by both wind and string instruments escalate with the screams. John Williams famously wrote the soundtrack for this movie. He's one of the most famous recognized composers and has written some of the most iconic soundtracks of all times for movies. Movies like Harry Potter, Home Alone, E.T., Catch Me If You Can, and Saving Private Ryan. He has scored hundreds of movies and is still creating music today. Hans Zimmer has also created multiple soundtracks for some of the most critically acclaimed films. Gladiator, Dune, and even Disney movies like The Lion King. Zimmer is a German film score composer and has won many Oscars and Grammys for his scores. These are just two examples of the genius minds behind the soundtracks of some of the most famous movies in history. While soundtracks are crucial to the cinematic experience, there are also specific sounds created to match the actions throughout various scenes. These sounds are called Foley sounds. They enhance the auditory experience of movies. Foley sounds are created by artists during the post-production process. These people make everyday sounds for the background of movies, from closing doors, footsteps, clothes rustling, or a clock ticking. This talented group of people watch the action that is being made in a movie and synchronize the sound to go along with the movement. They use everyday, yet perhaps unexpected, objects to make these sound. As you can see in the middle image, a Foley artist might use coconuts to make the sound of horse hooves as they hop along, or shape latex gloves to replicate the sound of wings flapping. Foley artists create these sounds to be authentic and natural, making the viewer feel as if they were actually in the scene. Another form of sound added to films is infrasound. Infrasound is a low-frequency sound below human audibility. Even though our ears cannot hear it, our bodies can feel the sound. Movie producers use infrasound in the background of horror movies to make the viewer feel uneasy or anxious. Some of the most famous horror movies use infrasound, like The Shining, Friday the 13th, and the Conjuring movies. Infrasound puts you on edge, heightens your senses. You feel like something can happen at any moment. Again, you, the viewer, are more engaged or more entertained. Going to a movie is a collective experience, a shared experience, a time to hang out with your friends or family. And afterwards, you might take time to talk about the impact the movie had. I challenge each of you. Next time you watch a movie in a theater or sitting at home, keep in mind how all the various sounds play a role in making the movie impactful. How did the movie wrap you with its reality? Will this particular movie linger in your brain or not? Does the soundtrack theme or even one particular song worm its way into your head? We often tune out the daily noises that form the soundtrack of our lives. But in movies, we can pause to appreciate the geniuses that capture the notes and noises to make movies real, to stir our emotions, or to create a lasting